Okay, for what it's worth, I think I'm sharing the screen. I'm in the process of sharing the screen. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Obviously, it's been quite a bit of obscurity as far as the online YouTube or even my own digital presence on my own personal servers, etc. GabrielGriffin.com, right? I am yours truly, right? Gabriel Griffin, the one and only. Although, relatively speaking, I was speaking with, I think it was, relatively, I'm not going to, I guess I was gonna leave the name anonymous, but literally it was like Samsung, etc. Right? So at the same token, I was speaking with Samsung, and literally they're scoping through the propagated logs, etc. Like every looking into to some content we were talking about, right? And literally they said there was like it was taking like sometimes computers can be very very slow, right? Like sometimes it's this hate love relationship, can't live with them, can't live fucking without them, right? But at the same token, to propagate like it's usually pretty instant, like simultaneous is what the individual suggested, but literally this portion was taking a little bit more time. Obviously, maybe the computer was slow, but also there might be a lot of my name has maybe grown in greater prevalence, or maybe it's always respectively been in greater prevalence, etc. So the same token, what I wanted to get on here to talk about was the whole ordeal, right? It's been too long, right? Like you look good. I me myself. Been trying to take better care of myself, my mind, etc., body, so on and so forth, right? Only as I've been preaching this whole entire time. Sometimes implementation is a whole nother ballpark, right? You probably get the gist of that. It's so true that even beyond the scope of that, sometimes, like I've said, it's one of my favorite lines I've ever said, right? Sometimes you have to individually check yourself before you check another person, right? So at the same token, check yourself, and then before once you get yourself to the right appropriate, situation, etc. Not like it just only like this way or that way, but like sometimes just mentally, etc. Like you don't smoke cigarettes, but you're smoking cigarettes. Understand like this or that. But obviously, it's not this or that. But I have a funny story, right? This is getting off topic subject, etc. But for what it's worth, I was taking a picture with a cigar. And I don't think I'm even gonna smoke it, man. For what it's worth, like I know it's not so good for you, but at the same token, like to my to prospective health insurance and life insurance policies, whatever. I'm not smoking the thing. It was just a prop, baby. It was just a prop, and it's a Romeo. This is a plug, right? It's a Romeo e Julieta, right? But I call it Juliet, right? So Americanized, right? For what it's worth, though. A cheap stogie, man, and obviously like a high quality stogie from what I've been referenced. But then again, like I suggested to the individual entrepreneurial business, etc., that was selling the thing, this had the humidor, etc. I totally suggested. I'm no connoisseur, so I mean, it does the trick for me. I've smoked Cabanos and also Cohibas and. This is from Nicaragua, so I mean it's all high quality shit, I suppose, right? So and you get what you pay for it occasionally, but sometimes some is prestige, some is rarity, exclusivity, etc. So that was just a fun story, and I was just gonna share that so it goes out there. Like it's just a prop. I'm not smoking. No tobacco. I already have a hard enough time as it is because for what it's worth, but it's also true that what I wanted to elaborate on was just that a conversation I had with the individual, right? Like kind of like, what is today? What I've learned from what's been referenced to myself is what is today. The salesman, like once upon a time, was that of like, stereotyped, and it's still stereotyped to this very day, right? So true, but I've heard the transition. I think it was the 1960s, 1970s, etc. There's been a transition into strategic partnershiping and alliancing, and also what's called strategic consultative selling, etc. Right? So this is a new age, and it's not so new, relatively speaking. Really, unless you're just learning the topic, because obviously, like I said, it's been in the process for several years now. But for what it's worth, it's so true that it's kind of the whole processing of sales in the component of consultation, right? So consultation is just that, of advisory, of helping an individual, craft themselves or their business, or even purchases, as in this, distinct application, etc. Like as an advisory consultative, helping you streamline the process to the best, products that are going to like configuring the right products, services, to best suit your needs at the best price, or whatever your particular resolution might um, uh, like need appeased, etc. Right? So true. So again, what I was going to say is that literally I was talking with an individual, right, and he was acting in that consultative, fashion, right, not like in sales, etc. But a lot of this stuff, whether it be services or education or classes or third-party classes or webinars or conferences or a fucking flight to fucking Las Vegas. Are you feeling fucking lucky? No, I kid, but so true. And I was talking with him, and literally he said, sometimes people are more inclined to encourage that of like, business. Like, sometimes like, people have really been like into business. Obviously, it's big into the future, this, that, etc. But, obviously I was kind of finding a lot of interest in that of legalities, etc. Right? So legalities in the sense that I'm following law blogs and etc. etc. And obviously, with dedication and just due diligence and the right fees, etc., then literally you can make anything a reality, right? If that's your desire, etc. But at the same token, what I wanted to emphasize from this podcast, the whole sole host of this podcast was just in the general idea that sometimes, just like it's been emphasized in what is SWOT analysis or even cost benefit analysis, etc., right? Of any proposition to going forward, right? So that's with education, that's with everything, even life decisions. Sometimes things happen in a blink of an eye, so this cost benefit analysis may not be as cut dry, but literally at the same token, it's so true that sometimes it's in the blink of an instance, but sometimes you do have more time to propose what are the costs and benefits, right? So that might be the value gained, whether it be economical, what is it, monumental or not monumental, money involved, or literally just, utility, etc., right? So true. And then minus cost, whether there be, again, the money factor or literally, this, that, or, whatever's, the detriments, right? So, and then obviously, then you can make a wise fiscally rationale, type of, buying decision, or actually, propose decision, right? So it's half the fucking battle. But obviously what's been alluded to myself, I was reading some articles, and sometimes articles are open for, a bit of ambiguity, because, it can be discerned in this way or that way. And literally not everybody's opinion is the exact same. Literally look at just the political climate, right? There's Democrats and Republicans and whoever the fuck else. I don't even fucking know, man. Let me see. It doesn't even matter, man, but there's a lot of motherfuckers out here, man, probably like Tea Party and green fucking tea or whatever the fuck motherfuckers are on, man. So for what it's worth, it's not the end of the world, but obviously there's lots of discernments out here of which is the proper trajectory moving forward, right? Not only politics or this or that, but the whole gamut, right, of everything in everyday life, right? As a society, a progressive society, I hope, in a lot of regards, etc., right? So at the same token, it's so true that I read an article on the whole ordeal that, the whole career of law, etc., has been, sometimes like not Harvard and maybe Yale and etc., but a lot of law firms actually have been lowering their tuitions, trying to get enrollment back. Demand more a higher demand to meet the eligible, possible, applicable supply, right? So obviously that's been true in some regard, because oftentimes I believe the whole ordeal that you get out what you put in, right? So you get out what you put in. So sometimes it's about, not every single situation is going to work the same for each individual, but what I was referencing to is that the whole ordeal that everybody's got to make choices, right? So it's not this, it's not that, but obviously make smart choices is all I'm fucking alluding to, right? So cost benefit analysis, again, for your particular situation, that great brain you have, whether it be this or that, etc., etc. There's lots and lots of facets out here to create great grandiose outcomes, etc., right? So whether that be some of these these career paths that are less than traditional, right? As far as I spoke in a prior podcast segment about the whole ordeal that what is it, dry cleaning? I've heard it proposed that dry cleaning has made a lot of millionaires. Obviously, it takes a upfront investment, a barrier to entry, but obviously when the society and the economy is stimulated, etc., then that's not such a daunting task, especially if you've given some things and some industrial societies, etc. Right? And they've actually made lots of cash, and also other entrepreneurial endeavors like maybe it's early morning. Oh my gosh, let me get my stretches in. I went to the gym this morning. Oh my gosh, feeling good. It was at 3 or 4 in the morning, right? But also whatever, as far as dry cleaning is one, but also there's other things. I'm not sure about the profit margins, etc. But there's also, I've seen some other businesses that look like they could be like, if you played your cards right and built enough demand, you could be successful at anything, right? And especially if you understand finance to a great level, that you use those, projected profits to internally put back into the business for growth or expansion until like no longer necessary, or expand to different localities, etc., etc. Or even to the extent that you upgrade equipment so you can stay at the top of the competitive advantage as far as being able to provide the highest quality, high tier service, right? Because that's what a lot of people are into, right? But being as cost effective, etc. A lot of factors, a lot of choices. An executive or a managerial staff or owner, etc. has to go into the contributing factors to build a successful business, right? But at the same token, it's so true that, even on the scale of like, what doesn't go back into the business, but what you pay yourself, right? Prospectively, if you get to that level where, you're cutting yourself checks, etc., or whatever, right? So it's so true that, sometimes, understanding, portfolio allocation and portfolio diversification and also just like whatever you're into, whether it be like, this or that or that or this, right? Real estate's, like I've said, is a really good pillar. From what's predominantly been prior past research, because literally what's made the most millionaires globally and domestically. Again, I've said this several times. It's probably getting played out, but obviously sometimes things need to be illustrated to get the message across, right? So that is real estate has made the most millionaires domestically and internationally. But of course, it's even beyond the scope of that. Like I've suggested in prior segments again. It's so true that some businesses actually sell like services or products, etc., or kind of like a mixture, a combination of both. But at the same time, sometimes they really generate their wealth, for the corporation, etc., through by the headquarters owning all the real estate and renting that to the actual business that's a subsidiary, right? Like, so it's all one chain or whatever, etc. But the headquarters, owns all the fucking real estate, right? That's big money, right? And then they rent it for mortgage. So they're guaranteed money whether the business succeeds or fails, right? And if it fails, and obviously they put a lot of research into the whole intake of, whether or not a location, a locality, a geography, has the marketing potential to fucking support, and has the target markets to come out, and they have the money to fucking purchase, right? So that's one thing I thought was really cool and worth, putting your head on. But what I wanted to show you today was just that, the value in market research. And obviously I'm getting more in depth into this. Obviously, has been emphasized to myself. CRM systems, of course. I think that's customer relationship management systems, etc. And also the whole ordeal of market research has been so pivotal moving forward, right? Along with mastering to great extents, or having a network of third-party individuals that can process a lot of the technological stuff, right? It's becoming easier and easier. And I want to get this background off here. I hope you're not peeping on my apps. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. I got some fucking wild shit out here, but I guess I have nothing to hide at this point. Let me see here. Okay, shit. This is what I want to see. Okay, now I was checking my website speed. I think this is GT metrics. Obviously, you can check your website speed. Obviously, the website is way too fucking slow. I guess what the analysis was suggesting was the whole ordeal that fucking my pictures need to be consolidated, or what is it called? Well, let's take a look. I'm not even going to show you. It's too embarrassing how slow this shit is. GabrielGriffin.com. Sign up if you would. Obviously, add more details to the contacts, inquiries, etc. on the pop-up. So go ahead and sign up. So much good stuff coming. Obviously, uphill battle sometimes for the gang of us, right? But sometimes it's about progressively moving, creating the trajectory today to traject tomorrow towards the trajectory for the rest of our fucking lives. So that's really what I'm trying to summarize. But again, I think sometimes with your websites, you gotta oftentimes, the files can be so massive, the depth of the bit depth or whatever, etc. So at the same token, you can sometimes lower the quality a little bit, but it doesn't really, reference by, it's not really visual by the eye, naked eye, etc. It is like to most, like, people that like, you know, really detail oriented, especially of your graphics on your screen, etc. But I mean, not to the extent that most people are looking from phones anyways, and this, that, etc. So obviously, you gotta shrink those file sizes of your videos, and you gotta have you know, you just go to GT Metrics. There's a couple other options. I think Google has one for mobile phones, etc. And just, you know, tweak around with it, you know, and do some research yourself and try to get that shit fast. Because obviously, the faster the site, the more competitive it is. Obviously, I think some sites like, let me see here. Look out, this is who you want to be competing with. Let's think about these billion-dollar companies. And some are actually slower than you might think, right? So this is really good. I'm getting off off fucking subject, but okay, let's see, man. This is really interesting because literally, I mean, I don't know if I should type in www, but let me see. This is who you ought to be like. These are billion-dollar companies, so let's see how fast their site is. So I'll see really what's prospectively true. So it might take a second, but let's see. And this is just one viable option. Obviously, there's lots of ways to gauge your website speed, etc. It says, sorry, we're backed up a bit right now. Damn it, man! I hate when I get this bad news, bro. Man. Okay. Oh, 104 fucking jobs in front of this. Damn, it's busy right now. I guess everybody's fucking waking up trying to get on their fucking grizzle right now. So I mean, it's not just you and me, man. It's not just you and me. Okay. But we'll wait it out. 85 jobs now, so we'll get it done. We'll get it done. Hold on one sec. But obviously, this is one person you might want to totally, not one person, but one company, literally. I mean, just for primary exemplary example, right? Facebook, right? So it's $1 billion company. Let's see how much Facebook's worth. And we'll see how fast their fucking site is. Because obviously, speed is one thing that's been emphasized to me that's like one of the most competitive advantages out here. Because obviously, there's a bounce rate. You can check this out with a lot of technology you can incorporate into your site, etc. And literally, most people bounce if the site's not fucking loaded in like fucking like superficial fucking like amounts of time. So I mean, if people love you, they might stick around, etc. So maybe work on those interpersonal relationships, so people will be willing to stick around for that slow ass website. Because in today's age, the digital age, it's so true that people fucking bounce from the fucking site if it's not fucking loaded like superficially, just like all these Photoshop motherfuckers, etc. Like sometimes it throws these girls for a loop, etc. Because like everything's superficial. Okay, let's see what it says here. Okay, so it's not so bad. I guess my site's not so slow, but you know, I'm just kind of like really aggressive with this shit. You know, I want it to be like, I've heard like if you get this shit to load in like 3 seconds, it's like fucking like, or like less than 3 seconds or 2 seconds, less than 2 seconds, it'd be fucking really dope, dude. So let me see here. It says 5.5 seconds fully loaded. So that's not very fast. So I guess I'm not very, you know, terrible, but let's see what they got going here. Defer parsing of JavaScript. So you have to Google that. Obviously, I don't know it all, but minimize redirect. So I guess it's getting redirected from the HTTP or something like that. So literally a good rating though. I mean, it's not so terrible, and obviously sometimes it changes from day to day. So true. And if I rerun it again, it might even be faster because it will sync with the prior you know, preloads type of shit. Like, you know, it's kind of in the memory, you know, like kind of like muscle memory, like they suggest, right? So yeah, I'm not doing so bad, but obviously I'm trying to get the shit down to 2 seconds or lower, you know. So I mean, that's really what I've heard is really where you want to be at. But sometimes it's difficult with all this shit out here, but just do the best you can, you know. So, but back to what I was kind of allude to before I'm getting distracted in my own tangent of thoughts, right? Let me drink some fucking water, man. It's fucking, I just went to the gym, man, so it gives me like fucking on one, bro. Like, I mean, I don't go that hard anymore, but I literally fucking like just ran on the treadmill for 1 mile and then fucking did some fucking beach bod lifts and shit. So shout out all the beach babes out here, getting ready for that West Coast living, baby. West Coast living, summertime. So a lot to look forward to. Okay, for what it's worth, let me get back to the fucking breadth of the subject, conversation, etc. I know this hasn't been such a ordeal, and obviously I can't share every single trick of the trade, but so true that you can learn a lot yourself. And obviously formal and informal education is the key. Relationships is even sometimes more important because you can third party a lot of the shit if you have to write enough paper and enough demand, etc. Right? So not the end of the world, but the more shit you can do yourself, the more powerful of a motherfucker you are. Obviously, think about where you are now, and even if you're behind, you know, if you're younger than me or you're older than me, etc., etc. So true that you can always traject over 2 years. Think how far you can be. 4 years, etc., right? And that's like, you know, building demand, you know, like getting more leads, you know, etc., getting more competent, more credentials, more licensures, more more skilled at plumbing or whatever, right? I think a lot of fucking plumbers that understand finance fucking real rich too. That's what I fucking. I mean, that's what I. And they got their own fucking firm or whatever, you know, in a big metropolitan area or a locality that they got sewed up, etc. So true. A lot of shit, man. It's just fucking, you know, you just gotta understand the game and just play your fucking cards fucking best you can. So nothing wrong with it, baby. Okay, this is one resource I've found, and literally it's just like stumbled upon. And literally, it's census.gov. I'm not sure how valuable of a resource this is. Obviously, I think there's something called what is it? Yeah, secondary research, right? Secondary research, in that there's firms out there, but sometimes they're outdated, etc. But there's firms out there that kind of create studies, right, of general populations, etc., in different localities or different, you know, different types of consensuses, right? And sometimes you can enlist them and pay them to, you know, give you that information so you could use it to utilize it and statistically like emphasize this probability of success in your business, or how you can, you know, like cater to a certain demography. And literally some of this stuff on this is just one free resource from the government. I'm not sure how fucking reliable it is, but I mean, the government's probably got some pretty decent shit. It gives you at least a general spiel of things, etc., etc. So I thought it was pretty fascinating. But literally you can cater it to, like, you know, Indiana, if that's where you're at, or California, or fucking you know, Colorado, or fucking Vermont, or New York, or whatever, right? So you can cater it to your city, or maybe even beyond the scope of that, just your state, etc., right? So very, very cool. You can see about, you know, how you know, what the wealth levels are, and you know, in income levels for and right here is population clock. Look how many fucking people there are in the world, man. Fucking bonkers, bro. Fucking bonkers, man. Okay, and this is 328 million people in America, right? So good market there, but think about this. And not all these people are maybe in your target market, right? I mean, there's a lot of people in some places are fucking, you know, maybe they don't have the funds to buy it, or maybe they just don't have the internet access, or etc., right? So some of this 7 billion is not your target market, but this is still like, even fucking like, you know, risk like 1/7 of this might not even be your target market either, but like maybe like depending on if you're fucking mass fucking marketing this shit, or whatever your products and etc. might be. It's so true that, I mean, damn, I mean, even here in America, look at, like, not all this is your fucking target market either, unless you're fucking like got, you know, I mean, it could be, etc., but you already know. But I mean, there's lots of fucking target markets out here, so just cater yourself, learn some backup research, this, that, etc., and obviously play your cards the best you fucking can. And that's half the battle. So obviously just trying to give some motivation. Obviously we talked about a few breadths of subjects today. This is one good valuable resource from the United States. So shout out the USA, good old USA, made in the USA with love. GabrielGriffin.com. Check the bottom of the screen where it says the, you know, company name, etc. So true. Getting better still. Obviously, we talked about some good things. Obviously, check the speed of your website. You know, we talked about some good stuff. So for what it's worth, obviously trying to slow my roll, got to get back to it. Probably do some reading. It usually calms the mind. You know, I get excited when I see you, right? So true. I get excited when I see you. So obviously I roll with the fucking punches. It's not shit, but to do it. Hope this is coming through loud and clear. Hope you can see me. You look good. And same token, realize market research is so pivotal. Find your target markets, appease them, etc., etc. Obviously build those relationships. And I mean, relationships are one of the most pivotal, viable forms of wealth, etc., which has been, you know, emphasized to me. But at the same token, it's so true that also, it's a coupled effect of contributing factors, right? Lots of inputs to this output of success, right? Whatever that be for you, right? It might be different for all of us, right? Some of us have different goals, you know. Sometimes, you know, this, that, etc. But it's so true that, you know, the more skills you have, the better off you'll be. The smarter you are, maybe, you know, it doesn't always translate. Obviously, you know, you can know every theory in the world, etc. But if you don't apply implementation, execute, deploy all that you've learned into actuality, etc., then it kind of doesn't relate to so much, unless you're getting paid to encourage others. But sometimes people love to learn from that of practitioners, etc. So I've always been fond of the whole adage, you know, you kind of want to be a practitioner, and obviously everything you preach, right? So I find joy in that, etc. So I'm probably gonna have to let you go, but obviously get back to work, man. This is just a mode of motivation. I just want to let you know I'm still around. Obviously, Gabriel Griffin at GabrielGriffin.com. Obviously, so much improvements being made. Obviously, learning every day, right? Creating the trajectory for the trajectory tomorrow, right? And the trajectory for that next day, and next day, and next day. So having a lot of fun, and obviously, it's so true that sometimes, like Warren Buffett has been like romanticized as he gets out of bed and skips to he's skipping like it's fucking that movie fucking what's that girl? She goes fucking the Wizard of Oz or something, dude. Fucking Wizard of Oz, man. That's how Warren Buffett's been romanticized, right? So obviously it's a real pleasure. Obviously this is just one resource. Obviously there's other secondary researches out there, and you can even host your own on your website, right? Incorporate surveys, open-ended questions, closed-ended questions, etc. So it's all a real good time. Obviously we're getting better still. You and I and you. So I'll see you soon. Pleasure's all mine. And the last fun fact before I let you go. This whole ordeal that like this whole world has become so digital. I was looking at this fucking subscription list where you sign up to be like to have lawyers and shit. Like if you're like less than 10 companies, it's like $40 a month, and then they give you some reviews of some of your documents, and also they'll do collections if someone's not paying their fucking tab at your fucking business and it's been too long, etc. Or they're just fucking trying to like fuck you over, etc. So you can sue them or. And all this information is fucking out there. Sometimes, licensures and it's barriers to entry, so it is power in that. But it's so true that, again, cost benefit of analysis. You don't want to pay too much for anything, because then it's overvalued, right? So if you buy something when it's overvalued and then it goes back to its real value, I mean that's not a good investment. Understand? So that's just basic economics 101. So we'll talk soon. You look good. Sign up at GabrielGriffin.com. This is YouTube. And I'm hating this camera. I want to get a new camera because literally I love this, like being able to do the whole lesson, etc. But it's so true that it sucks because my phone camera fucking is like a lot better than fucking this 1080p shit. I mean, does it look good to you or is it just because it's such a small screen or what, bro? Like, let me see. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I don't know. I'm not that crazy about the fucking. The high def of it, it's just not that fucking clarity, but also the light's bad in here. It's morning, it's dark outside, so obviously 7 billion people out here. Find your target markets, market to those motherfuckers, retain those motherfuckers. Harder to fucking get a new customer than to keep a fucking residual customer. So fucking word for the wise, man. We'll talk soon. Pleasure's mine. Peace.